Mrs. Fargus Townsend. Ms. Townsend was assistant to President George W. Bush for Homeland Security and Counterterrorism. She had previously served as the Deputy Assistant to the President and Deputy National Security Advisor for combating terrorism. Ms. Townsend came to the White House from the U.S. Coast Guard, where she served as Assistant Commandant for Intelligence. Prior to that, Ms. Townsend spent 13 years at the U.S. Department of Justice. She began her prosecutorial career in 1985, serving as the Assistant District Attorney in Brooklyn, New York. Ms. Townsend.
Thank you, Congressman. Let me start by picking up on a theme that I think Secretary Ridge made so eloquently. Our policy goals in this country really must be a reflection of our values. And it must be consistent, and it must be fundamental to how we build a policy process. You know, it struck me, when you go back and look at the current, you've heard Tom Ridge and others talk about the sanctions regime. We can debate its efficacy, we can debate its impact, but the statement of the goal, right now, as we sit here today in Washington, the goal of the sanctions which have not been yet successful, is to get the regime to the bargaining table. Is that really all? To describe that as humble and modest in terms of an objective, that's not enough. And so when you look at all the other things we've talked about just so far this morning, that the MEK is still listed as an FTO, all of that stems from what are you trying to achieve. And if you're not clear, and you're not ambitious, and your goals don't represent your values, you are doomed to failure. And I think that explains a lot about why we haven't up to now had a horribly effective, frankly ineffective, foreign policy goals and objectives vis-a-vis Iran. You know, we have all acknowledged, and I put myself with them, that our effort to support freedom in Iran has been ineffective and failed. The effort has been weak and inconsistent at its very best. You know, when I mentioned the sanctions policy, and Tom actually made the point very well, you know, you see the counterproliferation, the sanctions targeting the nuclear process, you see this FTO designation, we see economic sanctions, and we talk about these individual issues in the policy world as though they are silos, as though one doesn't really touch the other. The greatest source of frustration for me